The full-length version of this video is only available to premier members of the Smarter Real Estate Tribe. These video trainings are recorded live weekly to expose the secrets of successful real estate entrepreneurs across the country. To access the complete video library, including all exclusive Mastermind mentor interviews, visit www.smarterrealestatetribe.com and join us as a premier member of the Smarter Real Estate Tribe community.
One of the founders of DealMachine. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but Josh, you're kind of work on the back end in terms of making sure that users are optimizing the tool, primarily those that have an enterprise account or anywhere in between from a basic to an enterprise account, just making sure they're utilizing the tool to its full capacity. So that's really what I wanted to get into, is hopefully get behind the scenes with you, Josh, and highlight what is it that we can do as tribe members, as real estate investors, to say, hey, let's utilize this tool that you guys have created, which, by the way, I've told Dave this. I think it's phenomenal. I know you guys get a lot of tremendous feedback on it as well. I use it on a daily basis. We have mail going out every day now. And so congratulations on that, first of all, Josh, for you and your team and doing a great job with that.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate that. Always good to get good feedback, and obviously really in the end, always good to see people having success with the platform. And to your point, yeah, I run the enterprise side of the business primarily for DealMachine. And so people who are not just dabbling in the process, but really trying to focus, like, how do we make this a consistent performing channel of our business? Is really the focus that I have. And so the processes that support that, the teams that support that, and as we continue to improve and make changes to technology, making sure that those changes are happening and optimized for that type of scaled up user member that we are really building DealMachine in the long term for. And so that's probably a lot of what I'll talk about today, is some of those processes and what to be thinking about as you take that dive.
Walk me through somebody. I want to go like phase one, phase two on this, Josh. Like phase one is, I've never seen DealMachine before. I've heard Mike talk about it. I've heard other people talk about it. Just give me a quick high level, like 30-second, this is what it's for, this is why it's effective kind of a thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Basically, you as a real estate investor are trying to hunt down properties that other people aren't talking to. That's the ideal scenario to be in, an off-market property that you can get. Driving for dollars, as you just mentioned, you've already talked about why that's an effective strategy, because those are, no one can just have the driving for dollars list. It takes time, it takes effort to build it. And so there was always a process that worked. We just built a technology to make it way faster. And so whether you're a beginner investor, intermediate, or advanced, we make the process of driving easy, measuring where you've been, adding properties, figuring out who the owners are, taking photos, logging notes, tags about the properties, and then sending the direct mail, getting in contact with those owners a lot more efficient than they used to be. What used to be like a 20 to 30 minute process per property, you can literally do in 10 seconds inside a DealMachine. Yeah, so we've got our basic plan, $49 a month. Both of our basic and professionals can be done month to month. We do a little bit of a discount on annuals on those. Essentially, those are for smaller teams, for when you're testing out and dabbling, I would say. And within reason, as you scale a little bit, the professional plan in particular can help there as well. The biggest thing to note, basic is really designed for one primary user, and then you do get one additional driver who can be on that team. And so if you have a daughter like Mike here that wants to drive for him, you could have her drive for you, or a partner. The biggest thing to note, the driver account's a little limited, so they can't do everything that you can as a team owner. On that plan, a deal credit costs 99 cents. A deal credit equals one postcard or one skip trace inside of DealMachine. Our skip trace pricing is going to be coming down somewhat soon here, but as of today, that's what that deal credit means. And so when you see that, that's what it's implying. Other than that, it's basically the breakdown. You can send the direct mail with the postcards that we offer with photos of the properties that you guys are adding. We do have a few add-on services that you can add to it, like live route tracking, a campaign feature that lets you send sequential messaging instead of just sending the same postcard over and over. And then also Google Street Pick, which will automatically pull in an image of the property if you, for some reason, added the property but didn't get that original photo of it.
When you hear Drive for Dollars, or you look at other tools that we use like PropStream that has more of a bulk data download where it's all right there, it's that time, right? And I know that's where you guys have, tried to create the software to help give the investor the time that he needs and leverage other people's time with the drivers. So
figuring out how you get the new properties consistently in a deal machine is the priority to making the whole channel work. Just like anything sales marketing related, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel, your bottom funnel, the people that you guys are talking to consistently already. But what happens in sales, small organizations, they spend a lot of time top of funnel early on, they do the marketing, they get the new leads into something like Deal Machine, and then they just stop. And because they start working the deals and churning in that part of the business, and then they get through a couple of deals, they like win, and all of a sudden they look at their pipeline, they're like, I'm literally just basically restarting the business because I don't have any consistency built into the process. And so I will share this with you guys afterwards. Don't feel like we have to memorize it, but this is just a quick spreadsheet that we've got out there to help you guys kind of budget the time it takes to get the volume of properties it takes to get the volume of deals that you guys are wanting to achieve. The most important things I'll direct you towards here are the average properties per deal that we like to see put into Deal Machine, and the number of qualified properties that you guys can find per hour of drive time. And so if you guys are wanting to get, let's say 2-3 deals a month consistently on a month over month basis, we need to be committing, it's like at 2 deals per month, we need to be committing ideally about 40 hours of drive time. You guys as active real estate investors in the business aren't going to allocate 40 hours of your time to do that, which is why when we talk about scaling this team and then making that process easy and measurable is really, really important. And so that's my quick version of backing into why that's important, because this is a month over month effort that needs to happen. And if it doesn't, everything falls apart long-term. That team building process is automating as much of it, the legwork as possible, to be able to get them in there. And again, there's different payment structures that we can talk about on how to pay and incentivize drivers. There's hourly structures, there's like a cost per lead structure, or there's like pay someone on a closed deal.
Hourly, that's one, possibly $15 an hour. You've got that as just kind of highlighted, but somewhere in that 10 to 15 range, right?
Yep.
The second way was what?
Cost per lead. So like paying like anywhere from like 60 cents is the lowest I've seen that someone's done it at scale. It's really worked, up to $2. I think typically around $1 is the right way to look at it. And again, the biggest thing both on the hourly side is the quota for number of properties per hour of drive time is important. So they're not just like being lazy about it. And then if you're paying cost per lead is also a clear profile for what a qualified property actually means. So they can't just go to a neighborhood of brand new builds and then add every property and be like, oh, you owe me $1 for each one. That's not how it works. And so roughly $1, I think, is the right way to think about that side of the payment structure. And then finally, you've got your back end where you pay people when you actually closed on a deal that they added that you then got under contract and closed on. How you do that, if it's like a wholesale structure, I think just to find someone that's going to be super motivated, you probably need to be in like the 15 to 20% of the wholesale fee range for someone to be gung-ho out there, like aggressively saying, I'm going to spend time adding thousands of properties, which is what you want them to do. Yep. So every enterprise customer that we have gets a dedicated landing page for drivers to sign up for their team to be they actually go through a video-based training process that we've built for them so that they know how to use Deal Machine properly. How to identify a distressed property? Like, what is a property that you should be adding into Deal Machine when you go driving? How do you just use Deal Machine properly? How do you add the property? How do you take photos? If you want them to add tags and notes to properties to tell you why they added it, we walk them through.
That's a key feature that I don't think I was doing very well at the beginning that I love to train drivers to do. It's like, because as you go back through and you filter and you decide, okay, yeah, the property's here. Why is it here? Yep. And to have that little note that says property's here because of this, 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 and that. I personally really like that just to make sure. I know it's about volume, right? We want to get too selective and too picky about who we drop mail to and who we don't. But I like having those tags, keeps the drivers a little bit more honest in terms of what it is they're seeing.
What I'll say to that too briefly, especially early on, it's really important because they're learning in the process too. So you want them to think critically when they're like the first few times they're out there, because they're trying to learn through the process too. As they get more comfortable, more confident, maybe you do have a driver you really trust, like your daughter, Mike. You might be like, I trust your judgment at this point, so you don't have to worry about it, because it'll speed them up a little bit. They'll get a few more properties probably if they're not doing it. We are about to make the tagging process faster as well. Right now, you have to click into a deal and add tags from the deal view. You'll be able to add the tags directly from the map screen to the properties as you add them to. And then driving routes, like how they can track their route, all that kind of stuff is all in these videos so that they can keep track of what they're doing inside of DealMachine.
And Josh, like, that's cool, man. Like that, it's really, really cool aspect. So you know where they've been, what they're looking at. Patrick, you'll appreciate this. My daughter Liz drove by your property the other day. We have in our contract. So last night at dinner, I was like, Liz, did you see my for sale sign on that property on 5200 West? She goes, no, I didn't see it. I'm like, you got to keep your eyes open. She's like, your properties look too good. They look too good. I wasn't even looking for that kind of house, you know. I had the ability to go in and look at basically every hour if you wanted to. I don't do that, but at the end of the day, you can go, okay, like this is exactly where she's been, and this is the next sector that I'd like her to potentially focus in. So I love this feature, Josh. It's cool. At this point, I'd really like to go into, okay, we've got drivers. We have 3 different ways of paying them. We understand that there's a way to go ahead and indoctrinate them and show them how to use the app so they can do all that. This is where I want to go next, because this is really has been kind of a process that I've been working on for a while and try to refine more. Once properties are in, from drivers, like end of the day, let's say we get 50, 100 properties or whatever that we're staring at. It's that siphoning process and deciding what we're going to do with it, right? So,
right.
Show me this and how to be effective with it.
Yep, and exactly pertaining to our conversations in particular, Mike. I know you've asked like lists versus grid view or all that kind of stuff. Those are both going away. This is what this is going to look like as soon as this update drops, and it's going to make your life a lot easier than it has been to review these properties.
Okay, so show me this. I'm excited.
So essentially, it's an updated and pretty upgraded grid view that you're used to seeing. So we've got all the properties are showing up here on the left-hand side. Every property, as they get added into DealMachine, is first given a pending approval deal status. It means it's waiting for you to decide what it is you want to do with it. Someone submitted it. One big difference now, you're actually able to view the actual deal in its entirety without having to navigate to a new URL, which is a really big headache in the process from the previous structure. Yep, so we've got default campaigns that are applied to every deal as you add them, and that's default for your own account. So if you know you're just using one account, one campaign or one template, this process is a little bit faster for you guys, but literally as you preview this deal, and you glance at these things over here, and it all looks good, you literally just have to hit start campaign, and we'll begin the mail campaign assigned to it.
Can you show us folks really quick on the left-hand side where those different campaigns can be created? This is kind of what we were talking about before, where we hit them first ballpoint, and then the next 30 days, hit them with potential postcard. That's on the left-hand side where we create those campaigns right there, right? Yep. Right,
it'll be nested right here. Let me show you the other thing I want to note before I jump away from this is that's how you do the individual deal. Now, again, when you guys are reviewing tons of deals at a time, or if you're doing different campaigns, bulk editing and changing properties, like if you, again, the owner-occupied example, if you want to do it to a bunch at once and assign them all, you can filter your view of properties here. Let's say you can save filters now, which is actually a new thing as well. But let's say I just wanted to filter by owner-occupieds, apply that filter. Now I'm going to narrow all my properties I know are owner occupied. I could also further filter this down by pending approval too.
One thought that comes to mind across the board is that like sometimes we tend to be more selective and more picky than we probably should. Is that a common mistake where it's like, I get it, it's a spend, it's a 49-cent or a 99-cent mail drop spend when we make that decision. So it's like we're a little irky on that maybe, but
it's 100% the biggest mistake that I see, I think, with especially early stage users. They either
too selective.
Like they're like, oh, well, I'm just looking for like only absentee owner, only like basically vacant. I'm like, well, guess what? Absentee owner is a list that everyone's already buying. Like, so you're wasting your time driving if you're only filtering down to absentee then. And vacant, a true vacant, like you can find some driving, but sometimes like USPS has lists for like vacant. What we're looking for is what's attributes of properties that for whatever reason, whoever owns it isn't taking care of. And that's a critical thing that if you're trying to be too selective, like, man, you're going to be getting like 5-10 properties per hour and your deal flow is going to be greatly reduced. And sure, maybe your cost per deal is going to be a lot cheaper because you've created such a narrow list, but your deal volume is going to be lower. And it's not, and like, even if you got your cost per deal like $500, awesome. Well, guess what? If I'm paying $1,500 per deal, I'm going to get 8 times the amount of volume because I'm just building a bigger list and I have those data points of distress. And so really the only, like if it's a true distressed property, the only criteria that I typically recommend to filter out a lead from your view is if it was just sold typically within the last 2 or 3 years. Outside of that, if it's a distressed property, I would go ahead and add it.
If you're just driving and you're just marking absentee, it's like everyone already has that list, and there's a lot of other ways to go out and get that list rather than having to just drive and mark absentee. You know what I mean? Like you're out there really trying to find the unlikely scenario, the unlikely house that isn't on that bulk mail list by straight absentee. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. The majority of deals, like David and I, between the two of us, have done 10 deals through DealMachine. And I believe that 7 of the 10 have been owner occupied properties.
Show me this campaign so people understand how you can create a couple of different campaigns. And earlier you had mentioned maybe a ballpoint first transferring into a postcard coming 30 days, how those are created.
Yep. So I'm just flipping through just some of our different template options now, just so you guys can see them. All of our templates can be totally customized with your own coloring, obviously your own photos, your own text, all that kind of stuff is custom to you guys in particular. Building the campaign process is pretty straightforward right now. And so a campaign is, instead of just one template, it's a sequence of templates. And let me just go to one of my more complex ones. This one does not have the ballpoint pen first, but when I build campaigns now, that's what I build them on. So biggest thing first, choosing a naming structure that's consistent. It's going to help you guys just keep track of your different templates and campaigns and everything. Step 1, each step has its own template. Again, ballpoint pen letters I think are the best template. I see about 80 to 100% higher response rate to ballpoint pen letters from the postcards. And so I front load those ballpoint letters because I want to get to the conversation as fast as possible. I'm not trying to reduce like my incremental cost of a step earlier on and then like hit them with like the 12th one where I hit a ballpoint pen letter and they finally respond to me. I want to get that response as soon as I possibly can. And so choosing that ballpoint pen letter first, to clarify too, that's like literally a white piece of paper. A machine uses a wet ink pen to write the note. The letter is addressed with a wet ink pen and it's a real stamp put on it. So it stands out like a human wrote a letter to somebody. And then the rest of this I build out again to create initial touch points. I like to hit them twice in the first month. We've all been in that situation where something comes across and we're like, hey, I need to take care of that. And then I forget it. And then the next time it comes up, the faster it comes up, the more likely you are to do it right then. So I try to hit them twice a little bit faster. And then I decrease to every 30 days from there, just to get the longer term touch points in place.
To view the remaining portion of this training video, become a premier member of the Smarter Real Estate Tribe, where we are focused on one thing: getting you results and doing what you've always wanted, to become a real estate entrepreneur. To learn more, go to www.smarterrealestatetribe.com or click on the link below. Hey, what's up, Tribesters? I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely you want to see the next one. Click on that right here and hit the subscribe button. And down below, we've got all the comments. Listen, I want to hear from you. Our team and I want to put videos together that help you either launch or improve your existing real estate business and helping you make more money. So hit the comments, check out the video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the other side.